All right, here we go. Welcome everyone to the very first stream. Let me just make sure audio is working here. Oh, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I'm trying to do something different today. I tweeted out about this earlier. Um, I wanted to do some stuff with NX to show some awesome stuff that it's capable of doing. To give you some introduction, I'm Zach DeRose. I'm a senior engineer at Narwhal, and we make NX, which is a tool set for building monorepos, but it's also just a great tool set in general for anything front end or JavaScript based. So I wanted to take the opportunity to try to show some of the cool stuff we can do with it. And we've done some demos in the past that are smaller, but I think some of the coolest stuff you can do with NX is when you're building something large scale, full stack with interesting things. So the interesting pieces of NX, I think, are hard to demonstrate with smaller pieces of content. So I'm trying something where we're going to run some longer content, where I'm going to be live streaming for about an hour for. Well, we'll try it for this week and see how it goes. If it goes well, I'd love to keep doing it for a while and build out something really interesting. So that kind of brings us to what we're going to try to do today. The first thing I'd like to do is to set out some parameters on what project we're building. So I mentioned on Twitter that we're going to be doing like a social media platform. I thought that would be a cool example because I think that gives us a lot of interesting things we can do. I think for the most part, this is going to be mainly a learning thing, learning and demonstration live stream. So we can kind of learn together. If anyone's out there in the chat, feel free to reach out and ask questions and stuff. I want this to be very conversational if we can. So, but yeah, so I want to put out some parameters on what project we're building, and then I want to create our workspace. And we're going to be doing this for about an hour, so I'm not sure if we'll get to this last one, but I want to be able to serve a front and back-end app and show them communicating. Cool. So let's start out with some parameters. All right. So the parameters on the project. I think with social media, I think there's a general trend to try to get away from some of the privacy atrocities that are occurring. If you've been following up with Andrew Yang, there's all this stuff about the DDP, the data. I forget what it stands for, but it's essentially a way of getting paid for the data that Facebook's and Google's profiting off of. And I think that just in general, there's been a wider awareness of how our privacy is kind of getting invaded just by participating in social media. So I had the idea to just with some of my friends, having sort of like a full stack kind of solution, kind of like WordPress, where you just kind of have a installation that you could just kind of unwrap somewhere and have your own little private social media platform. Maybe could do everything Facebook could do or everything Twitter could do or something like that. So to start out, for today at least, I just want to be able to have some posts. And I don't mean like HTTP posts here. I just mean like a social media post or a content post. Let's call it that. So for now, I think that's all I'd like to focus on, to be able to have some content posts that we can store in a database, be able to serve from our app. I think that's a good start. And like I said, eventually want to be able to unwrap on-prem. And that may come into play later. For as far as authentication goes, we're not going to try to get into that today, but I think eventually it would be cool, either later this week or further down the road, to look at writing some of our own auth, not being so not using like OAuth with Facebook or Google or anything like that, but to I think it would be interesting to write some auth from scratch and to see what it would take to make that truly secure. So that's something we could look at later, but that's an implication of being able to have sort of like an on-prem solution here. And I think that's all we need to get into for our parameters. Of course, I think maybe the one thing we need to put is our main goal is to learn. So yeah, we'll see where this takes us. I think it could be a cool journey to go on. But yeah, so those are parameters for the project. So let's go to creating a workspace. So I'm going to open up a terminal real quick. Let's see if y'all can still see that. Let's bring it over here and make it bigger. All right, so we're going to use npx to get the latest version of create Nx Workspace. I'm going to do at latest just to make sure we're getting the latest. And we'll call this we'll call the workspace something like Zach Livestream. Because I would love to, if this takes off, I'd love to eventually bring some other projects into the monorepo as well. But yeah, let's see how this works. Let me do that. So if you're not familiar with npx, it's kind of like npi install, but it's just kind of does it without having to. Well, it's an interesting tool. I shouldn't speak about it too much because I'm not super aware of everything it's doing, but I know it's cool. Let's start with an empty workspace for now, and we'll use the NX CLI, and let's use the NX Cloud for faster distributed cache. So NX Cloud is pretty neat. It's so NX by default is going to do what's called local caching, so that if our source files don't change, we can kind of just pull from a cache an artifact or a deliverable. Rarish from Narwhal actually has an amazing video on this and how it works, and then also how the cloud works. So the way the cloud's going to work is if you think of each developer's machine as sort of like a child node, the NX Cloud is going to connect to any child node that any developer is going to be using, and when someone creates an artifact on their machine, it's going to push it up to the cloud so that we can cache it up on the cloud, and then any child node can go and pull from that one, which is really awesome in terms of saving time for CI and CD and that kind of stuff. So it's a real fun project we're working at Narwhal, and it looks like our free tier of NX Cloud has been enabled, so we should be taking advantage of that. I don't know if we'll get much benefit if I'm the only one doing things right now, but could be cool later. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me switch up to full screen. Is this going to work? Let's open this, and Back to this. There we go. Hey, sorry about that, Philip. I think so. I think I must have been being on mute for the whole time that I was on full screen mode. I feel really dumb, but that's okay. It's part of learning, I think. So I'm just going to try to recap what I did because I'm pretty sure I've been audio off for a long time. But so far, let's bring up the other markdown file I had real quick. Set out some parameters for what we're going to do. I think we probably got that on the audio. We created a workspace, and we wanted to try to serve a front end and back end app and show them communicating. So we got the web client working, serving the API. That's actually done now. We can see that we were getting a GET request. You'll get all the clickety clacks you need, Philip. I promise. So we're serving up the API and getting a GET response back from that. And so now we're trying to demonstrate some communication between our web client and the API. So that's where I had left that off. And I think I had a little bit of network problems just there. Hopefully that's okay. So inside of our web client now, we're bringing in the Angular HTTP client, and we're just doing a GET request against the. I believe this will work for the. I actually don't want that working. This will work for that GET request that we set up. Let me do a split screen on this real quick, so I can look at the main. That's not what I wanted. Here we go. Get the main over here. So yeah, assuming we get the API, we're going to send our working string. Should be able to get that and see that inside of our component here. So I'm going to just use one of these. I'll just create a new terminal here into an npx nx serve our circle web client. It's because we were having some problems with the console plugin a second ago. This should run that. Cool. And so this was our API. Let's see if we can get our web client back. And we're not. Let's see what's going on. Oh, yes. I changed the name. So I forgot when I set this up, I changed the prefix that I had. So the prefix was being based off of the workspace name for our Angular components. So I went in and manually changed it back to our circle. I changed it on the workspace so any future components that get generated are going to have the prefix as defined right here. But because we bootstrapped everything, or we ran the initial setup without that, I think we have to go through and touch, we'll probably just need to touch this right here because this still has the old prefix. So we'll name this our circle root. I think that should fix it. So things just serve our circle, but we don't see the response. Let's see. Oh, it's trying to get a JSON. Let's just make that work for now. So we'll send I don't know. Let's just send it 200 for now. And inside of our component, we're going to say get anything from the API. We'll pipe that so we can map it. Let's bring in map from RxJS/operators. So whatever response we're going to get back from our HTTP client, we're just going to map that to a true. Let's do working and define this as an observable of a Boolean. Let's bring in observable. There we go. And we're going to catch an error here. So essentially we're just making sure we're getting the 200. I think this needs to be status, right? There you go. I think I still need to send. We're going to catch an error. Doesn't matter what error it is. We're going to return of false. There you go. So we're going to get the API. If we get a 200, we're going to go to a true. If we get some sort of error, we're going to go to false. So we should see a true coming out of the working observable here. So hopefully we should just see true, which we do. We did it. We accomplished everything we set out to do today, arguably. Since we got plenty more time, well, not plenty, we got 20 more minutes before I want to wrap things up. I'm going to go right into the content posts we want to do. So a content post, think of it if you're a Facebook user, when that thing at the top when it asks you what you're doing today or how you're doing, that's kind of the idea for what I wanted to do. Pretty close, yeah. So for now, though, we'll try to do some content post setup for. So ideally, we're going to want on the API a sort of get posts endpoint. Eventually, we'll want a. This is really all under the API, so let's just indent them. Create posts endpoint, and on our client, our web client, we're going to want to. We're not going to set up auth until later, so for now we'll just show all posts on sort of the home page, and we're going to want to just give a form to create a post. We'll make that real simple to start out with. So in terms of these, I think there's so one thing I really like to use NX for is sort of creating a utility library. So we kind of have two apps right now. Our web client is opinionatedly Angular. Our API is opinionatedly Node and Express. But I'm going to want to create with our sort of like a utility library that's just like only TypeScript or only JavaScript, kind of, however you want to think of that. And this is going to define some interfaces that we can use across both of these. So the API is going to need to do some data modeling that's going to be a little bit different than what the web client's going to need, but we can kind of work with that. I think that's fine to just throw it all into sort of like a models-based utility library, because that'll just get sort of transpiled away in terms of what gets shipped. So it's not like we're going to be leaking out into the web client any extra interfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and create a util library for use in client and API. So let's mark this as the thing we're working on for right now. So I'm going to come back to VS Code, and let's run a generate. And for this, since this is just a TypeScript library I want to make here, I'm going to do narwhal/library. Yeah, so I want to do like a workspace library. And we're just going to call this, let's call it content post utils. I'm not going to give it a directory. We may move it later. I think there's a nice little move schematic we can run later for moving this around. And I'm just going to run that as is. And there we go with our apps. Inside of our libs folder now, we have this nice little content post utils that we can write to. I'm actually going to delete this one. And we'll just make a new file and call it models.ts for now. And let's make sure this is exporting from lib/models. Let's get rid of that error. All right, so we are going to export an interface that we'll call content post. So the cool thing about this is we can kind of grow it as it goes. I'd love to do stuff where, you know, like Facebook does, we have the different, like you can post a picture, you can post a video. Interesting stuff we can look at in terms of, you know, hosting an image or hosting some of these things, since we want to make this sort of all on-prem kind of solution. For right now, though, we'll just have content be a string. And we'll have an author ID, which will be a string. We don't really have the concept of authorization yet, so we'll just kind of force that to sort of blanket author for now. And then we want a created tag, and this is going to be a date. I think that's pretty much all we'll want. Eventually, we probably want to do something with comments related to the content post as well. But pretty much, I think this is good enough for getting started, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and save that off. And let's see. Let's pull up the markdown sheet to see what we'll want to do next. So we've created our util library. It's a very simple library for now, just has the one interface. We'll probably be adding more stuff to it as we go. But let's look at the API. Let's just do a get post endpoint. I don't want to wire this up to Mongo because I don't think we'll have time to do that today. That'll be a good thing for us to get started on tomorrow. But I do, we can just do sort of like some in-memory stuff for now to kind of send these things along. Just looking at this, I want to make sure the content post itself has an ID. There I go, getting distracted again. Yeah, so we'll create a get post endpoint, and I think I'm trying to decide whether I want to make a lib for the posts already or not. I think I kind of do, just because doing stuff in memory is going to, if we want to be able to create posts and endpoints in the endpoint or on the API in memory too. It's going to get a little interesting, but let's do that. Let's go ahead and make a library for the for sort of like our, think of it as a backend module for our content posts. So we're going to generate a lib, a node lib. We're going to call it content posts, and we're going to put it in the directory backend. So what this is going to do is going to create a subdirectory in our libs called backend and create this content post inside of that. I'm not really sure what this does actually. Let's just mark it for now. And let's just run it as is. And as that goes, so we should see, here's our backend / content posts. We've got a whole slew of things in here. Cool. So I'm going to want to take the backend content posts here. I guess we'll work with this file for now. Let's get rid of this here for now. We're going to want to bring in the Express router. Let me pull up my snippets here real quick so I can see what I want to do here really. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to want to bring, let's bring in stars express from express, and we're going to export our router here, express.router, and then we're going to, so this will be kind of like our content post router. So we'll let's not mess around with any middleware yet. Let's just do router.get. So anything for this router, we'll want to do something where we'll get our posts. Right, so I'll make a new file in here called getposts.ts, and this is going to export constant getposts, which is a request handler. So given a request and a response, we are going to want to have our response. The request doesn't really matter for now. Eventually, we're going to want to authorize that request and see who the user is, and probably get them unique requests or unique posts for them. But for now, we'll just want to res.send our posts. And I'm going to make, just for now, a new file for that. So we're going to just call in here, let posts is a content post array. Make that empty for now. And we're going to import content post from Zach livestream content posts utils. And I'm getting an error here. It's not under router. Oh, okay. Did I put that in the wrong spot? Let's see. It looks like maybe I did something wrong when I set that up. No, that looks right. Let's see. Huh. Maybe let's try restart and make sure it's coming up again. Yeah. I don't really know what that's talking about. The root dir contain all source files. Let's see. Expected this to just support that. Source.index is not under root dir. Is this any helpful? No. Let me Google that real quick. Something is not under root dir. Just looking at Stack Overflow in the other tab. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Okay. Is there something with the tsconfig? Well, it's definitely not getting it. I wonder. Config base. Libs backend content posts. Oh, did I import this? Oh, nope. Content post utils. Nope, that's right. Let's see. Content post utils. There's my content post utils, source, index. Let's try support content post. There. Expect it'll still get the error, but worth a try. Okay. I did this one. I wonder if I remove the root, would that fix it? Looks like it may have. Yeah. I imagine when I said I didn't know what the publishable thing did, I think I kind of understand what it does now. So there in the tsconfig lib, we had the root dirs being set, the root directory. I think that was part of when I clicked the publishable module. What happened there? So they kind of expected this to be all self-contained, and when I had to a dependency on another lib, things kind of broke down. So I'll have to look up what all the publishable lib does later, figure that out. But now at least we are getting our content post interface correctly inside of this lib. So let's just put some dummy data in here for now. Test post ID, and we need some content. This is the content, and then we'll do, let's see, author ID, test author ID, and created. We'll just do new date for now. So then inside of our Git posts, we'll send our posts, which we'll import from import posts from posts, and we'll just export this. There we go. So now we have our Git posts. Can import our Git posts here, and then we're going to come back to our main, and we are going to use our router in here that we exported from the content post router. So let's do this real quick. I think we can just do app.use and then that router. I think. Let me look at my snippets here. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to comment this out for now. Actually, yeah, let's do this. So we're going to create a new router constant. So this is kind of like the API level router. Router equals express.router. And we're going to, instead of calling app.get, we're going to call router.get there. And then we're going to have app.use the router. So now the app is set up to use the sort of the top level router, but we are going to import router as content post router from our Zach Livestream backend content posts. And so the router we'll use for, we'll call it content posts, and actually we'll use, yeah, the content post router. There we go. And we're over time already, so I'm just going to make sure this works. So our lib here, or our API, is still serving at the moment. It looks like it failed because I made some new libs while it was serving. So I'm just going to grab the command it used, copy, and oops, I do want to cancel this. Inside this new terminal, we'll just paste that. Oops. Shoot, I lost it. Pretty sure it was Nx serve. Our circle API, right? Oh, we do have an error. Let's see if we can resolve that real quick. Cannot resolve. corresponding type declarations. Well, I was hoping we could see this before we left, but let me give it just a few minutes, and we'll see if we can figure this out. I can't find it. Wonder if this is something I did when I made it a publishable library too. Let's see if we go to tsconfig lib. Let me just compare it to this other lib we made. So it has an outdoor. Just make it match up. See if that may have been if that'll cure what ailed us. Nope. Still couldn't resolve it. Now find modules. Backend content posts in app source SQL API source. Let me try looking at the tsconfig. So this is the content utils one. Looks about right. Content posts. Yeah. Well, I can look at this in between streams, and hopefully we can come back next time. And let's just wrap up real quick with that MD file. See how we're doing. So we were on the Git post endpoint. We kind of had the in-memory post array set up that was going to return it. This is not working as of yet, so I'll just leave the arrow here so we can pick this up tomorrow. Hopefully we can go through and make the Git post endpoint, finish that off, create some posts, and have the web client actually be able to hit our API to make posts like that. So yeah, this was reasonably fun. I feel really silly for leaving my audio off for a long time, but Philip was super psyched that you came by and hung out with me and let me know about my audio not being on. So much appreciated, man. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and thanks all for watching. See ya.